You're listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast, talking TV shows and movies in easily digestible chunks. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Bingecast. Happy New Year! As we record this, it is just after New Year's in 2021. Thank God the dumpster fire that was 2020 is over.
Now we start a new fire.
Well, yes. Because just changing the number at the end of the year doesn't mean that the next year is magically going to be better.
The dumpster fire got put into the garbage truck, set the garbage truck on fire. Now we're entering the landfill on fire.
And that will set the surrounding landscape on fire. Anyway, so we're back for My Hero Academia. I, of course, am Jay, being joined by
Sam. And
Season 3, we ended with, All for One has been defeated and thrown in prison, but the League of Villains is recruiting.
Yep, they're still recruiting. They are introduced to, did we even say his name yet?
Overhaul, I think.
So
I don't know.
I didn't want to say it before.
You told me. They didn't specify what his name was in the show.
Yeah, Overhaul.
But you said that the guy's name was Overhaul.
Twice brought him back as recruit.
Right. Because we had an episode that focused a little bit on Twice, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? And it wasn't... Once he put the mask on, I was like, oh, it's the Deadpool motherfucker.
Twice. Great character.
Yeah, very fun character. Fucked in the head, but then who isn't? Everybody's got their issues. And we had the provisional licensing exam, which... what was it? Shoto and Bakugo had failed. Wasn't it them that had failed over it? I forget now.
You're talking about the provisional licensing?
Yes.
It was Bakugo, Todoroki, the Wind Guy, Cammy.
Okay, yeah. Well, in the case of Cammy, we found Kami, I think is how they pronounce it. They pronounce it Kami. I know it's spelled like it should be pronounced Cammy, but they pronounce it like it's Katie, but with an M instead of a T. But as we found out, Kami was actually Toga.
And who knows when it started and ended, and if she was actually interchanged at all.
Right, so we don't know what's going on there. Bakugo has found out about Deku's secret about how he got his quirk.
Oh, we gotta mention that Toga did take some of Deku's blood.
That's right. She got a drop of his blood.
I think she got a little bit. She got a little bit more than that. She
okay.
A little bit of a syringe bit.
And we also know that she has Ochako's blood because she used that to transform into her during the licensing exam to get a little bit closer to Deku because she's all yandere towards him because he's a main character.
Can't let that main character get loose.
And at the end of Season 3, we got introduced to the Big Three, the top 3 students at UA. And they were...
Mario Togeda.
Yeah. Togeda, he was the Pip-Boy looking dude.
Yep.
Who can phase through stuff. Najire and...
you don't know his powers yet either.
And Amajiki, the girl in the emo dude. The emo dude who basically just faced the wall the entire time and refused to get involved.
His power's pretty interesting.
We did find out Mirio's power, he with his phasing stuff, and he basically explained that his quirk actually isn't all that powerful by itself, but with all the training that he has done, he
makes it a powerful quirk.
Makes it powerful. Because it does come with a bunch of drawbacks when he phases into the ground and everything.
Can't breathe, can't see.
Yeah, like all of his senses don't work when he's phased into something.
So he has to have an idea when going under or through of what he's doing. And then when he explained going through a wall without having to fall through the ground,
it shows. Yeah, it's like that sort of training is extremely important for phasing powers as the way his works. Because when he turns it on, his clothes all come off. Which distracted quite a few of the students during that. I'm going to take you all on.
And then Jiro was affected the most. Mm-hmm. You noticed that?
Poor Jiro.
First time he phases through, she freaks out. Second time he
No, the first time he phased, it wasn't even before when they were fighting. He his clothes just came off and she started freaking out.
Oh, so
and
when
then
he popped up behind her,
and then he popped up behind her. She turns around and just like, ah! Very, very funny moments. But yeah, so
like we've said before, that anything that's even remotely close to a considered filler episode
still has
a lot of quality care and love into the episode, and you're still learning about the characters. You're still developing different things.
Mm-hmm. And they still will drop a random character in there that at first seems like they might not be that important, but then it turns out, nope, they're actually going to factor into this plot somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the... back when the League of Villains was first Shigaraki's League of Villains was introduced and first started recruiting when Dabi and Toga were introduced.
Like, okay, some random Yandere-looking schoolgirl.
Because you just look at her and you can just tell Yandere. In his case, you're just like, I don't know what happened to you, but I don't want to see the other guy.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately, I haven't found out too much about him because article headlines, not even just reading the article.
It's like the headline throws it in your face.
And I'm like, oh, thanks. I wanted to wait for the anime and not have spoilers from the 2 seasons ahead manga.
I have not even looked at the manga, even though I could conceivably get into it and probably stop before we get to where we are now.
Well, a good friend of
ours, I
don't
want to risk it.
On the channel Evan Uno.
Yeah, Evan, as we like to call him.
He actually got into it, and then he went full bore, got all the mangas, and went through all the anime. He's always super far ahead.
When he gets into something, he gets into it.
So I was hoping we could have him over for one of these Bingecasts for.
As long as we'd have to make sure to sit him down. Maybe when we wrap up season 4, we could invite him over and do a rapcast for season 4.
Maybe that or the OVAs.
The OVAs, I think that would probably be a good one, because season 4 is 24 episodes and 2 OVAs.
And we've got a movie to throw in there at some point.
Yeah, and there's a movie, the second movie, which we'll have to.
What was the first one? Was 2 Heroes. Right?
First one was 2 Heroes.
And this one's Hero Rising.
Hero Rising. Okay, yeah, I remember seeing that title all over the place when it first came out.
Both of those.
You guys went and saw it in the theaters, didn't you?
Yep.
But
and I was taken back when I saw the first one in theaters because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to read subtitles. And then I heard the English voice acting. I was like, wait, what? They dubbed it for me? Well, not just for me, obviously. But
No. They dubbed it for you because they knew you were coming.
I'm like, I don't want to have to read. I'm here to.
What was that line from the Simpsons movie? I was elected to lead, not to read.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's overhaul. From what you basically suggested when we were watching the end of season 3, he is going to be a major character.
As you see in one of
the thumbnails for one of the episodes we'll be binging is actually him, and I think if you look at episode 65, which will be our second episode today, is actually titled Overhaul, I believe.
Yes.
So,
don't want to go too far.
Yeah, don't go too far. I don't want to see too many names or any possible plot stuff too far ahead. So yeah, given that they introduced the big 3, I imagine that they're going to be a major component of the season.
Oh yeah.
And from the promotional art and posters that I was looking at earlier, both when I was getting the thumbnail for our previous seasons and the one that I got grabbed for this season, he's on there along with Deku, which suggests he's a major character.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be diving into it right now. So we'll see you after the binge.
While the binge is happening, thanks for listening to our podcast. Please give us a like and subscribe and spread the word. You can reach us on social media on Facebook or Twitter at BTD_Bingecast. The Bored to Death Clan is part of the CKCC Radio podcast family, including J Bunny's Music Hub, the Race Nerd Podcast, Real Paranormal Talk, Ranking Tracks, Motivational Moves, Girls Who Like, and The Nerd Table. Please consider supporting CKCC Radio on Patreon. And now, the binge is done, so let's get to the discussion.
And we're back. So, kicking off Season 4 with filler time.
Just a little bit, and then you're just smack dab into it.
They throw you right into the next story arc with the Shie Hasakai and everything.
Yakuza group.
Yakuza group that's been causing some. Well, they're sort of small timers, but
I mean, compared to
super villains, yeah. Well,
super villains in general.
Yeah. Well, that's not to say that they're not super villains. They've been biding their time. It seems like.
Well, Overhaul has. Remember, he says he's number 2.
He's number 2. Yeah, that's a fair point. But yeah, the first episode of the season was just like a little bit of filler, sort of reintroducing you to everybody in Class 1A and who they are, what their quirk is, or at least what the quirk is as far as the reporter that we're seeing this all from's perspective, because he doesn't know what Deku's ability is. Really, he just thinks it's a basic strengthening quirk, a power quirk, like that just makes him stronger without realizing that it's literally All Might's power.
Yeah. So a little interesting thing about that character, he was never in the manga at all.
Yeah.
He was made up for that episode, and it freaked people out, thinking like, wait a minute, if that's the kind of quirk that can exist. Yeah. Have you ever noticed his one eye pretty much is a camera?
I did.
It was his left eye.
I do think I noticed that his eyes appeared different, but I couldn't tell if that was a legitimate thing or if it was just an art style thing.
I'm thinking it has to do with some of his quirk.
Yeah, because the reporter's quirk, he literally can make a lens appear anywhere on his body. And not just all the same kind, because it was like multiple different types of cameras. And he can then print the photo right to his chest. And it basically means he can take a selfie without needing a phone. Literally just pull his hand out.
Which he did in the episode.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was commenting on it. But after that filler, we then got thrown straight into the work study arc, which is what I'm just going to call it for the moment. Because at the end of last season, 1A was told, so now that you have your provisional hero licenses, you can go and do work studies. No, you can't do it with the heroes that you interned with last year.
Because they have to have a higher qualification rating or something.
And that was literally because of all of the security issues that UA had been having so far, and all the problems that, or at least all of the trouble that had fallen on Class 1A. They were basically told, you need to go to an agency that has a proven track record with work studies. And not everybody was able to find one right away. But Deku called up Gran Torino, was like, hey, can I work study with you? And Gran Torino, after messing with him a little bit, was just like, sorry, I've been pulled into helping the police with this investigation. I won't have time. But why don't you try reaching out to All Might's former sidekick, Night Eye? And Deku goes to All Might about it. All Might's like, yeah, no, I don't really want to,
He gave him like a few reasons.
He gave him some reasons, but also was like, I don't really want to talk to that guy. So personal reasons going on there, but
which we find out, I think, in the next episode.
Yeah,
episode or two.
It was a couple episodes later that All Might finally came clean with why, but Deku, All Might called Mirio in to meet with Deku, and basically was like, what do you think, would he be a good fit with Night Eye? And it was just sort of like, yeah, I can make the introductions. But let's rewind a little bit, because we also saw Shigaraki in the League of Villains Overhaul. And Overhaul basically, said, "I didn't come here to join up with you. I just came around to tell you guys why you are not."
Oh, mainly he wanted them to join under him because of their name recognition.
He wanted the League of Villains to join the Shiei Hasaikai, so that they would lend their credibility, as it were, their reputation, rather, to the Hasaikai, and basically called out Shigaraki on not really having a plan.
It's like your plan.
It's like you have a goal, but you don't have a plan to make it happen. And a goal without a plan is just a wish. And that sort of pissed off the League of Villains. Magna tried to attack him, and
we got to
Overhaul just basically took one of his gloves off, scratched him briefly on the arm.
Not even with a fingernail or anything. It was just like the tip of his finger.
Yeah, just sort of brushed him with his finger, and Magna's whole upper half of his body just exploded. In, not like boom with flames, but like it swelled up and just went and burst.
And it was gone.
Yeah. And Mr. Compress moved in, and they tried to warn him off, but
he got shot coming in on him too.
Yeah, and then it turned out, nope, Overhaul didn't come alone. He, one of his guys had a gun and shot Mr. Compress in the arm with it, and his quirk would not activate.
With a dart, we didn't know what it was until 3 episodes later.
Yep, and again, Overhaul touched his arm, and his arm exploded, but just the arm. And then one of Overhaul's goons got in the way when Shigaraki moved in.
So now there's a thing.
It was Shigaraki, wasn't it? Like he grabbed him.
Yeah, the goon when Shigaraki was coming after Overhaul. Overhaul yelled. I think it sounded like he said "shield," and then a guy jumped from the roof,
dropped in, and
Shigaraki just took all
straight up
all of his fingers and just touched him
with his bad touch quirk, and
disintegrated his ass.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing.
And then Overhaul is just basically like, "We're done here." Turns and leaves, tosses his card on the ground.
It's
and
like
walks
if
away.
you change your mind.
Yeah.
Well, he also said we should take a breather because we've lost people on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably, not just have a complete bloodbath.
But it was during that scene also that Overhaul pointed out that there was a power vacuum in the Hero Society on both sides. Because
All Might and All for One.
All Might had been forced to retire and expose his withered form, and All for One had been defeated and thrown in prison, and basically Overhaul was like, I'm more interested. Everyone is talking about who's going to replace All Might. I'm more interested in who's going to replace All for One, and the fact that Overhaul seemed to be putting himself forward for that sort of...
Shigaraki got pissed and said,
Shigaraki got pissed, yeah. He's like, you know who my master is? And that's what sort of led to the fight. But
one thing I want to mention about how Overhaul did it, he did the same thing, but with different outcomes to both Magna and Compress. He touched Magna, blew up the upper half. Mm-hmm. Compress, he only took off his arm. The reason being, Magna was aggressive. He didn't want that kind of aggression on him because he knew if Magna was to touch him, he'd inflict some kind of pain or hurt him of any kind if he would let him. But Compress, he even says, I got to contain him. Not like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to do something. He just wanted the blood to stop. So instead of, completely annihilating him... So
how his quirk affects you depends on the level of aggression being displayed?
I'm thinking that he has full control over it.
I imagine Overhaul does have control over it.
Oh, he has a lot of control over it. You have no idea.
Well, let me hazard a little bit of a guess about some more aspects of his personality from what I saw over the 5 episodes that we watched. Or rather 4, because he wasn't really in the filler episode at all. And that's that I think it, because there was a thing that they basically explained when they flashed back to the, just the petty criminals that they took down at the end of last season. The guys that robbed the convenience store of the ATM.
Okay.
And when we saw them, they were all like
Scorched by Dobby, wasn't it?
No, that was somebody. That was a different group of nobodies.
Okay.
Dobby, we did see
because
Dobby
they mentioned burnt up money, and I was like, did Overhaul go through there afterwards?
I don't know, but I assumed that Overhaul stopped those petty thugs because I think that might have just been a territory thing. Like these guys moved in and tried to rob people in our territory, so we're going to put them down, and we're going to put them down hard. But when we saw them, at the time, I thought, they'd killed them all. But then we found out here that, no, they're still alive. They had just been paralyzed with pain. And when the police came to find them, it's like a whole bunch of, like, little issues that they'd had, like little illnesses,
cavities
and
scars
and everything, were all gone. And when we saw him take down Magna and Compress, and also the one thug that works for him, that basically it failed him, and we saw him like take the guy out
because he was supposed to be watching Aerie.
He was supposed to be watching Aerie. We'll get to her in a minute. You saw those like boils or something on his skin for a moment. It almost seems like he's taking, when he takes or uses his ability on them, he has fine control over it, can like paralyze them if that's all he wants to do, and if not, then he basically does an overhaul on them, but by doing so, it affects him in some respect.
I think it's when he uses his ability, he takes on something else, not necessarily from them.
And with a lot of his talk of like filth and unclean stuff, definitely ties in with his whole plague doctor aesthetic with the masks and the masks that the rest of the Hasaikai wear. But I'm still, I'm sure we'll get a better explanation of how it all works in a future episode. But that's just my guess right now from what I've seen and what I can sort of pick up. But
I don't know if they fully explain the repercussions, because it seems like a lot of the way this universe works, thankfully, has each quirk isn't like an unbeatable god type quirk. Mm-hmm. You're not stepping into the deep world of DC and whoa, wow,
Superman has two weaknesses.
Rocks and magic.
Space rocks, magic, and technically mental attacks, because he doesn't really have any sort of shield against those.
Well, mental attacks most of the time come literally magical.
Yeah, but
it's funny as Zatanna could take his ass out.
Well, but Max Lord in the comics was able to take telepathic control over him.
Huh.
That was a thing that happened in the comics. It was before the New 52 thing happened. But
New 52 made him like 100 times stronger.
Well, but at the time, nobody realized that he had done it. Like he had secretly gotten mind control on Supes, and was using him to basically have him fighting somebody, but using like more strength than he normally does. And when they found out that it was because of him, Wonder Woman basically, had him like tied up in the lasso, and was like, I think he was tied up in the lasso, and tried to get him to release control, and he said, "I'm never going to let him go," and so she snapped his neck.
Damn.
Yeah, that was an act that had some major repercussions. I was actually expecting that to happen in Wonder Woman 84 at one point.
I had never thought that would even come close to happening.
But at any rate,
they played it
especially because they'd already done the neck snap thing with Zod.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was how the ending of the movie started becoming. It was too.
They were getting too
very cliche when Wonder Woman was talking right at the damn screen.
Yeah, but anyway,
that's a different binge.
Getting back to My Hero Academia, we spent like an hour and a half on our Wonder Woman 84 talk, and we spent maybe 30 minutes of it talking about the movie.
Yes, anything else would be better.
Well, yeah, it's just Rode ended up rambling about all sorts of other stuff. It was fine, but back to My Hero.
Well, we were just getting to the point of like they have a lot of drawbacks to almost
drawbacks,
all their everybody's
their quirks
abilities
and everything. I do appreciate
like Sero probably has a limitation on how much he can do, and they even mentioned that when they were doing the when they were at the training in the summer camp.
Yeah, the summer camp, and I'm sure in the gym he was also working on finding new ways to use his.
Well, those were special abilities.
Yeah, but even so, you want to figure out the limitations of what you can do and everything. It's like with Mirio's quirk. It's like his quirk is somewhat limited, but it's just like he has learned fine control over it and learned how to use it in all sorts of to the absolute best of his ability, which makes it appear very strong. But it does have these drawbacks. He is,
so we were on the Overhaul and.
Well, yeah, and Overhaul and the rest of the Saikai that were with him, they leave. He tosses his card down. It's just like, you change your mind, give us a call. Meanwhile, Deku is brought to meet with Sir Night-Eye.
Huh.
And Mirio basically says, if you can make him laugh, then you're golden. And
I like how Mario tells him like the moment before they walk through the door, or as they walk through the door, and he's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, and
way to prepare him.
Deku
man.
tries to break the ice by doing an All Might impression, by literally like screwing up his face to try to
scrunching his face
up to look like All Might's, and doing like an All Might voice, and Sir Night-Eye's response is like, "How dare you?"
You're mocking All Might, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
And
taking it the
Mirio's
wrong
response
way.
is just, "No, he's not funny."
I lost my shit about that every single time. It's nothing. It's not against it. It was the best part because he was dramatic saying it. No,
he's not funny.
It's not funny.
Now, to Deku's credit, he very quickly manages to recover by when Sir Night-Eye tries to dismiss him. He brings up like the.
First Night-Eye is like, you expect me to think that you're trying to do an All Might impersonation. His crow's feet
aren't nearly that
it's like even in the bootleg toys,
even the
they
bootleg
do
toys
get that right.
Can get that right. And then Deku was just like the Vinegar River rescue, and tells a story about when he rescued this kid who could turn any liquid into another. And was like drowning in a river, but turned the river into vinegar. So All Might dives in to save him, and then has to give like a little press conference. Tears are pouring down his face, still smiling though because
you get
it's
that
All
shit
Might.
in your eyes, man.
And he's like, "You remember what he said after that?" It's like, my skin hasn't felt this good in 10 years, or something like that.
My skin feels 10 years younger.
10 years younger. That's what it was, and. That seems to impress him
because he's a super fanboy as well.
Yeah, because he's a huge fanboy. Has All Might posters and stuff all over the office.
Even an unreleased 10-year anniversary.
An unreleased 10-year anniversary poster. And so Deku, he's like, he agrees to at least hear Deku out. And it seems like Night-Eye is going to stamp the contract to take him on, and then it's just sort of like.
Constantly hitting.
He like taps it down next to the paper, but not on it.
And he
just like, "This is me rejecting you."
No, he just kept doing like this.
He kept tapping it the whole time, just tap, 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 and basically explaining why. But he gives Deku like 3 minutes to try to take.
He's like, "But you could take if you can take the
stamp from me and stamp the contract in 3 minutes." And he sends Mirio and his sidekick Bubble Girl out of the room, and he tells him, "Don't worry about messing up the office."
And he's like,
and we find out later it's because his quirk, Foresight, basically lets him see the future
for upwards of an hour at least.
Like, I think it's strongest within an hour.
Yeah,
it's like he can see with perfect clarity exactly what's going to happen in an hour.
So that
with regards to one person, at least.
And that means, with 3 minutes, no chance.
No chance. And we're told that it's based on whether he can make eye contact with somebody and if he can touch them.
Which he did at the very beginning.
He did both.
When he was messing with his face, saying about the crow's eye.
Poking at Deku's face.
Which was just perfect. Mm-hmm. He had an exact reason to touch him.
And Deku basically goes like Gran Torino style, like trying to ricochet around the room to try to grab him, and Night Eyes is just basically sidestepping him easily. Just
casually, too.
And explaining, like, literally that he can see everything that he's going to do. And Deku knows what his quirk is, too. So he's, like, trying to figure out some way around it. But he's,
he doesn't know how it works.
He doesn't know the exact details of how it works. And he's trying to, like, he's stalling at times, trying to think his way around it and getting called out for it by Night Eyes as well. To his credit, he does try to, like, throw a bunch of papers into the air to...
Thinking it's line of sight.
Thinking it's line of sight based, which it's not.
Nope, it's that moment he locks eyes.
He's got you.
Yep.
And...
he's got you for 3 minutes of playtime.
Yep, 3 minutes of playtime. And when the time finally... And at one point, like, Deku finally, like, smacks into the wall face first. Poor Deku. And
that was when it was over.
That was when time was up. And then Deku points out that it's like, I didn't hit the wall that way because I froze up. It's because I didn't want to hit the poster. And that's when Night Eye realizes that for all of those ricochets around the room, he had been exceedingly careful not to damage any of the All Might merchandise. And Night Eyes was actually impressed by that.
He's like, holy shit. With that speed, how he ricocheted and trying to get around everything at the same time.
While you still didn't really have a plan, you were still able to avoid damaging it.
He said you even while making your plan, you did that, plus not missed all this stuff, plus got it that fast.
Now, he did also, during all that time, reveal he knows about One For All. He knows how it works. He knows how it's passed on.
He wanted it to be Mario.
Yeah, he wanted it to be Mirio Togeda. And basically called Deku unworthy. And basically, while he agreed to let Deku come on...
And he mentioned he agreed only even when Mario was like, I'm bringing him. He was like, alright, cool, bring him in.
He'd already agreed to take him on.
Yep.
Or already decided to take him on. But
he just wanted to see the extent of, like, what would make All Might
why did All Might choose you? And basically, it became clear to Deku that's like the only reason he's here is because he wants me to quit and pass One For All on to Mirio.
Possibly. He's thinking it's going to be the Night Eye wants to break him down to the point of, yeah, let me just give it to Mario now.
But, you know, he did basically stamp the contract. Deku did, at least. And then later we find out that, Hado and, what was it, Amajiki. Amajiki is the other one of the big three, right? It is Amajiki?
I think
Sun Eater?
Sun Eater?
Yeah.
We just call him Sun Eater.
Yeah, Sun Eater works better. He's the emo one of the big three. You know, obviously they're also in work studies things.
His weakness, lack of confidence.
Yeah. Hado is with Ryukyu, the dragon hero.
Yep.
And Sun Eater is with Fat Gum, the BMI hero. I just like that they all have those sorts of like little nicknames about their hero names. You know, the BMI hero,
where it has like this kind of
flame hero, Endeavor. The explosion hero, King Explosion Murder.
It's bad that I know what his actual hero name is now.
Don't
I know.
Is this something that's actually been in the show, or is this something that was spoiled for you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
thanks, Google News.
Yeah. But with all of that, with the 1A is basically having trouble finding agencies that meet the qualifications that they need, and Red Riot is basically goes to meet with Sun Eater. It's like, can you introduce me to your... Or was it a case of he was invited to join?
Well, when we saw in the most recent episode, it looked like he begged him to take him into the agency he was at.
Yeah, and I think it was actually Hado had asked Uraraka and Froppy to meet with her hero.
Yep.
Okay, that's what it was.
I can't wait so you can see the other hero, what they can actually do. The two pro heroes.
Oh, Ryukyu and the Fat.
Yeah, you need to see what she
Gum?
can do. Yeah, you'll be able to see hers.
Well, we sort of saw Fat Gums, but you basically implied while we were watching it it's way more than that.
There's a reason why he eats so much.
Okay, but we found out that Sir Night Eye's agency is working with the police to investigate the Shie Hasakai, and he says we're going to go on patrol. I'll take Bubble Girl. Mirio, you take.
They went to go stake out the
Hasakai's headquarters.
Yep.
And basically told Mirio, you take Midoriya.
Just do a patrol.
Just do a patrol. Don't, if you see him, and he held up a picture of Overhaul. Don't actually reveal what his real name is. Kai Cheesecake. That's what
I think so.
That's how they were pronouncing it. So I think so. Basically, don't arouse his suspicions, or he'll go to ground, and we'll never get him in public again. Yeah. And lo and behold, the very first thing that practically happens while they're out on patrol is they run into him.
Well, it's more like
they run into Eri.
His daughter runs into
quote-unquote daughter, who is also all over a lot of the promotional art for this season that I've seen.
Promotional art
and all over the intro and the outro. She is this little girl with pale hair and red eyes. I think albino, presumably, and has like this horn growing off the
just
top
one,
of her. Just the one horn
off to the side,
off one side, not like the Oni style single one, but like she's got like a little demon horn thing, but only the one. And she runs into Deku and basically just sort of clings to him in absolute terror as Overhaul just calmly just walks out of the alleyway. Walks out of the alley. It's just like, don't interrupt the heroes during their important work or something like that.
It's like, you don't want to bother the heroes, do you?
And Mirio managed. They try.
Mirio's
tries
really good at
trying to deflect everything, just sort of anything, because he's like, this is going to seriously compromise our investigation.
Yep.
If this goes wrong,
or if he gets suspicious of things.
And Deku is trying to
he's heroing it up, man.
He's heroing it up, but he realizes this little girl is terrified. She won't
trembling.
let go. She's like trembling. She won't let go of me, and. He's like, what have you done to her? She's covered in... He has hero syndrome strong. He's like, this is a little girl who is scared and in trouble.
Covered in bandages.
And she asks, please...
Don't let go.
Please don't let... please help me. It's like, yeah, something... Essentially, like she was saying, help me. And that's the sort of thing that any hero worth their salt is going to try to do. And... Deku's basically trying not to arouse suspicion, but basically asks what's going on, why she got all these bandages, and Overhaul sort of looks at him, and you can tell he's like, this is making things complicated now. But he's like, this isn't something that should be discussed in public. Let's follow me, and we can talk about this in private. Walking down an alley,
a dark alley,
and the little girl sees him starting to reach to take off one of his gloves.
Oh, he had his finger in the bottom of his left-hand glove going to take it off, right there.
She immediately lets go of Deku
and runs up to him.
Like apologizing. And Mirio and Deku realize we're sort of walking into a trap situation here.
I'm pretty sure Mirio knew.
Mirio absolutely knew it, but Deku, I think, sort of read the signs off of how Mirio immediately stopped, and they had no choice but to disengage.
In all honesty...
The problem was, Eri stayed stuck in Deku's head and has been messing with his concentration ever since.
Oh, he's worried about her.
Yep.
That's a true hero.
That is a true hero, exactly.
And it's tearing him up inside that he can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I had her. I could have gotten away with her. And thinking about it, Deku could have charged up and gotten the hell out of there real quick. Mario could have went through a wall or something and got away. Mm-hmm. But we don't know all of Overhaul's ability.
Right.
Like, we've only seen him explode people.
Didn't know what his quirk is.
No. So we know he's exploded people, but what else can he do?
Exactly. But it's because of Eri's whole situation messing with Deku's head, and all this, the stress that Night Eye basically
telling him you're unworthy.
Let it go.
Well, also, like, later on, he's being told he's not. During that, he was not worthy. Mm-hmm. Don't fuck up this investigation. It's just like
directly
from Night Eye.
How arrogant are you that you think you think you are capable of saving anybody that
right
you
now?
Want, anybody that you want right now, and so but that makes Deku go to All Might. It's like, you need to tell me why you don't want to talk to Night Eye anymore, because it's like you're holding back a secret here. It's clearly affected your relationship with him, and therefore it's affecting his relationship with me.
Yeah,
and he basically admits that when he got injured, that's when that he was a fanboy of All Might's even before he was brought on as took him on as a sidekick. And
also, All Might mentioning he always worked alone.
But it was like working with him really helped out. With he was the brains to my operation. No, he said to my operation, not the brains to my brawn sort of thing. It's just sort of like he made his hero work more efficient, sort of thing. Is how I read it. But when All Might got injured, that's when they had their break, because All Might wanted to basically keep doing hero work until he absolutely
Night Eye read him.
Yeah, All Might
he said never use your quirk on me.
Yeah, All Might used Night Eye's used his quirk on All Might, which he didn't like, but he used it and spooled it out as far as he could, like 6 or 7 years. To see how long All Might could basically keep going the way he wanted to go.
And I think that was after he was injured, because he was like, how long can you keep this up, kind of thing.
Yep, and he basically advocated for All Might retiring immediately, at the height of everything, and let somebody else step up to become number one, like immediately.
Pass it on now.
Pass it on now before you get too weak. Before, because that way you'll still be the worst part was
this was a fight that he had previously with All for One, because that was the injury that he took from the side.
Yep.
And they had presumed him dead.
Yep.
At the time, so
and All Might just basically was like, and how long is it going to take for somebody to step up to become the new number one? How many people are going to suffer and get hurt or die because I'm not there?
But here's the problem with that: he shouldn't hold all that on his own shoulders. He is number one,
exactly.
But there are, out of the top 10, there's at least 9 others, and a bunch of different agencies that can take over and step up.
Yes, and it's one of those situations where it's like both sides have a point. It's like you can sort of see where All Might's coming from, even if it's not a burden that he should take on.
Also, completely. A lot of it has to do with his pride.
Yes, there's that.
Has nothing to do with his fame, nothing to do with money.
Night Eye had a point as well. It's just sort of like, you don't have to keep doing this, and if you keep going like this, you're going to die a very gruesome death. And when that revelation is what sort of freaked out Deku for a moment, because it's sort of like he'd sort of known in an abstract sense that it was going to that death is a part of life, but now it's like he's confronted with the fact that my hero, my idol, my mentor,
my hero that is a teacher at My Academia.
My Hero Academia is going to die, and All Might basically said, that's one reason I'm still pushing to try to improve myself and try to recover so I'm not in crippling pain sort of stuff from all of his injuries. Because I want to sort of defy that fate that he's
take over. And he wants to get there, and that's why he's still pushing himself.
Mm-hmm. And so they had their little moment. It's just like Deku's like, I'm gonna keep striving to get better to try to help forestall that fate for you. And I was like, why don't you just call up Night Eyes and apologize and make up with him? Then he could use his quirk on you again, and we can find out if we've beaten that fate. I mean, it makes sense, except for the fact that I think both All Might and Night Eyes would probably start screaming at each other about something.
I don't know about screaming. It's just like, you fool for continuing this crap and putting yourself in the position you're in. And what am I supposed to do? Leave the people out there?
And then we saw Shigaraki come to meet with Overhaul in the middle of the Hasaikai headquarters, and he basically said, I'm not looking to join you so much as a joint partnership. Basically, it's like, you need our reputation.
We need more members.
And we need more members. So, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, sort of thing.
And he says, we'll still do our thing, but we will help you.
Mm-hmm. We will use our reputation to help you. And you, in turn, will provide us with some of your members.
It's
for
kind of
our
a
operations.
toxic partnership.
It is absolutely a toxic partnership. Anything with Shigaraki involves us a toxic partnership, because he has just as much pride as All Might does.
Yeah.
Although,
he sure does.
But, and that's going to lead to problems, you just know it. But he also asked for, details on what Overhaul's plan is, because he then holds up the dart that was used.
And he says Compress couldn't use his powers for a while.
So this is somehow factors into your plan, and I want to know what it is, which is a completely valid.
I want to talk about what it is too so badly. But
don't tell me, because we'll continue binging.
Hopefully in the next couple days.
Next few days, and so we saw a little bit of Najire and Uravity and Froppy doing some hero work with Ryukyu.
She took down two colossal people with one blast.
Yeah, two.
One was a shark.
Bad guys with gigantification quirks
that were infighting amongst different villain clans.
Yep, and Najire just comes up, uses her quirk to knock them down, and then Uravity and Froppy basically did a team-up move to use a bunch of
meteor strike. She
floated a bunch of rocks into the air, and Froppy just tongue whipped them in.
As she released the quirk, so it has
extra
more
momentum,
impact.
Yeah, and they were basically told that they were going to be teaming up with Night Eye's agency to help with the investigation. Time for a team up. Sidebar.
He also called up Fat Gum's agency too.
But I think that didn't happen until later in the episode, because we then diverged over to follow what's going on with Red Riot with Sun Eater and Fat Gum, where they're basically just sort of patrolling, the three of them. Fat Gum is just sort of eating at various little restaurants and.
I like the one call out, and someone's like, "Hey, Fat, come meet at our restaurant." He's like,
"I'll come by tomorrow." And then we just saw some thugs running because they've been caught doing something. And
they were dealing there was it seemed like another infighting between a couple more
gangs, and they literally run straight into Fat Gum, who just sort of bear hugs them and squeezes them into submission.
One starts to get away.
And then we find out what Sun Eater's quirk is. He is literally what he eats.
You are what you eat, mister.
His quirk Manifest allows him to manifest parts from animals and stuff that he eats. So it's he has some calamari, so he can do tentacles from his fingers. He had some clams, so he can use
turn his palm into a clam.
Into a giant clamshell.
Just crack
which he
that
said is
dude in
good
the
for
head.
defense and offense. And he had some fried chicken, so he can make like a chicken claw
And he had
sprout a wing. Sprout wings.
He's like, I think the wing is overdoing it because he didn't need it in that situation.
And he still has major confidence issues.
And everyone's like, oh my god. And everybody surrounded him were saying how
they're
cool
all
he
like,
was.
yeah, they're talking about how cool he is, and he just sort of pulls his hood down or like faces the wall. It's like, too many people. Overstimulation.
Well, he also had the thing when he stepped on the guy. He's like, one called him a freak when he grabbed him at first.
He's like,
it's like, this bird freak over here. He's like,
and then it turns out there was one more guy that had sort of faded into the crowd, but he pulls out a gun and shoots.
well, first Fat Gum notices the shine from the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Or the glare.
He's got a gun! And the guy shoots Amajiki, Sun Eater, took the shot for Red Riot, which he really didn't need to do. Because
I don't know if he took the shot for Red Riot or he would just happen to be there.
But whatever the case,
Red Riot took the second shot on purpose.
Yeah, but it turns out that he was shooting some of those power suppression darts, and he used it on Sun Eater, who suddenly couldn't use his quirk
At all.
At
It
all.
was like he was starting to try, and then it started to
Just
regress.
proceed. And he tried to shoot Red Riot, and Red Riot has a
Hardened.
hardening quirk, so it literally just bounced off.
Pinged off his head. He's like, all right, I got your ass.
And chased him down into an alley.
And of course, him being a rookie, he's just trying to do his best and
He's
not
trying-
listening to his, his hero he's supposed to be listening to. He's like, yeah, don't go do that. But
He chased him down, and the guy, trips and falls and is like sobbing and whimpering about, it's like, I just wanted to help my buds.
I just want to be as strong as them. If I ran with some strong people, I could be stronger.
And
he's like,
and Red Riot's just like,
he's such a
come here,
good guy.
Yeah, he's trying to
He's
help
such
the
a
guy
nice
out. The
guy.
guy's just like, just completely, just then reveals, no, pulls out another like syringe.
No, he swings at him first.
He swings at him,
And that's when he got knocked down and then started sobbing because he can only get a 10-centimeter blade.
Yeah, like box cutters popping out of his
arm when he went to hit him, and he's like, "Well, we're mismatched, dude. Don't worry about it. We'll come along. Let's do this quietly. No one has to get hurt or anything."
It's like, well, there's other ways I can get strong or something like that. Jabs himself with his syringe, which has a power-enhancing drug in it. And it was like Moonfish, only
from his whole body,
from
instead.
everywhere instead of just from his mouth. And his blades were sharp enough that they were actually starting to cut Red Riot. And he was
through his regular heart.
It was like cutting into the buildings around them as well. And Red Riot's like, I need to stop this guy, or because if he gets out into the public, a lot of people are going to get hurt. And he's like telling all the civilians that are there, it's like, get back, get to safety. And
they're just in awe. It's just like it's hero society. People want to see what happens, even if their life's in danger.
Yep. And so Red Riot's just like defending himself against all these blades shooting at him, and then basically goes plus ultra with his quirk.
Mentioning how he's always behind everyone else and did special training.
Yep, and the special training.
And then there's a flashback, and this is where I start saying it stopped making me
like
Bakugo. Because he said a compliment, not a backhanded compliment, to Red Riot when he was feeling at his lowest.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, what can I do? I'm a close range. All you guys have long range and can do everything at any distance pretty much.
Yeah.
And what can I do?
And Bakugo just points out the cavalry battle. It's like,
he's like, what did you say to me during the cavalry
before
battle?
the cavalry battle, it's like, you need a strong front horse, and that's me.
Need a tank, pretty
And,
much. He's like,
yeah.
be that bulldozer.
And that was another thing that during the training for the provisional licensing exam, when they were all working on like ultimate moves, All Might basically just said, stop thinking small with your quirk, be a bulldozer. And so he goes like, super hard with all of his quirk into, it was like seeing what he turned into. I was like, dude,
His teeth even turned into stone. It was so crazy.
Yeah,
His eyeballs.
Yeah, his eyeballs like turned spiky. Not like
so
not
nuts.
like the pupils in his eyes. We should say the pupils and irises in his eyes went
all of his
spiky.
eyes hardened, like even the white, everything hardened.
Yeah.
It was so crazy.
And we were both just like, Jesus.
And I've seen it twice before, and seeing it again, it's still a holy fuck moment.
Yeah, and he just basically starts charging through the blades. The thug realizes that he's can't hurt him, so he just basically
focuses all the blades.
All of them forward, and he just continues charging, breaking through them.
Elbows through him and just clocks the crap out of him.
Yeah, just literally punches the dude straight in the gut and tries to basically sympathize with the guy. And the guy's like, "Nobody cares about your sob story," and tries to use his blades to like catapult himself out of it.
Because he started to cry, and he's like, "Oh man, not again!"
Yeah,
and he's like, "You sucker." I'm just gonna get out and cause as much chaos as I can.
Just grabs him.
He just like leaps sideways down the alleyway and catches him. As you see him catch him, you see he's trying to use all the blades to get out of Fat Gum, and he's just like not giving a shit.
Nothing can move the blob. And all the civilians were like,
well, what's your hero name?
Yeah, what's your hero name? You're damn sure I'm gonna remember that.
Like
he's suddenly becoming famous.
Yeah, famous. I love the best part after all of this was them mentioning it back at the dorm, showing off the news articles on their phones to each other. Was it at the dorm or was it at school?
It was in the classroom. Yeah, because they showed off that Red Riot had gotten some headlines. So had Uravity and Froppy. And Bakugo is just like, shut up already! Because he and Shoto are still trying to get their licenses so
they can actually do something.
Yeah, so they can actually do something. Yeah, but like you said, they're sure to point out that there are like drawbacks to all their quirks.
Well, he even mentioned with his hardening of like getting going to that level.
The unstoppable mode is he can only do it for like 30 to 40 seconds.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, for now.
But that's just like heroes. They train and train and train and train until they can get it to where it is. The drawbacks are less.
Control on everything. Yeah. But yeah, they're building up to something with the whole Hasakai stuff going on.
Well, it's going to get big.
Eri is apparently a key component of whatever Overhaul's plan is.
Well, you saw the chair.
That chair has some unpleasant connotations to it. Any sort of thing like that in the presence of a villain who...
So is there anything, do you think, about maybe... What about his cronies' abilities?
Well, the one that I nicknamed Shooter, the one that in the hood that had the gun.
They mentioned his name, but only slightly in the very episode you saw.
Yeah, when he first brings in Shigaraki, I think he called him Chrono, and then later when they identified him and the little guy Mimic, they revealed said chronostasis, and there was Shie Hasakai something or other, enforcer or whatever. So that sort of implies that he has some sort of time stop ability.
Because you noticed when Compress was centimeters away,
he suddenly froze in place. He was
thing with Magna.
Still aware of what was going on, but
same with Magna.
Yep.
Magna got close, and then all of a sudden, bloop. And it seems like it's momentary, but I can't remember exactly how his quirk works.
And Mimic can apparently mimic at least a crab sort of thing. He grew a big crab arm.
Grew a gigantic arm and just grabbed him by the neck.
I jotted down notes on some of the Hasakai guys.
Oh, we'll see a lot more of them coming up.
I'm sure we will, but it's because I didn't have names. I just wanted to jot down notes on who they were.
Big guy, little guy.
I had Bane was the big guy because but at the same time I also got Master Blaster vibes from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome because Mimic was riding on Bane's shoulders, so that's why my notes I just wrote him down as Master Blaster because that was how I was going to...
I didn't look close enough, but was he riding on something, or did he create that with his body?
With what?
Mimic. think about it. If he could make that giant-sized arm out of himself, could he make a full body?
Was Bane just like he was on top of me? I don't think he ever hopped off of it. So.
Yeah, so maybe he's like this, and then all of that came out of him.
Maybe that would be a really cool quirk. And then Chronostasis I just listed as shooter because he had the gun with the darts in it.
He has something to do that he can do, like sharpshooting of some sort. It seems like. I can't remember.
Put him up against Sniper.
I think Sniper will beat his ass.
Probably. But
remember, he worked in like fog and smoke, and he could just get accurate depictions on where people are.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I'm sure we're going to see a lot more members of the Shia Saikai and any other people from the League of Villains that decide to rear their ugly heads.
And remember, I want you to remember something.
Talking of the League of Villains, I liked, I think it was Shooter, or maybe it was Mimic, called Shigaraki Facepalm Guy.
It was Mimic.
When they were leaving.
Mimic was making fun of him.
Yeah, because, Facepalm Guy is probably how I would have called him prior to the whole revelation of the bad touch, which
I want you to remember what Shigaraki said. It's like amazing here for the upcoming episodes.
It makes sense. If I had to hazard a guess about what you just said, are we going to get the Raid with superheroes? Did you ever see the Raid?
Maybe.
The Raid is a great movie. And
I haven't seen it, but I think I do have it on Blu-ray. I'm not sure.
So do I. I have it on. I have or at least on DVD. Add that to the list.
Yeah, definitely.
But
so you excited for the next arc?
Yep.
Since we're trickling into it now.
We're trickling into it. We are going to try to get through at least the next couple of binges as quickly as we can. Probably not today, but
a lot of stuff
the next
going on.
Few days. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on.
And this one might be out like next week on a Friday or something.
Yeah, this one will be released the second Friday and second weekend in January. Not that this will matter to you guys because it will already be up by then, but we do generally try to keep to a certain schedule. We have plans to release some other stuff coming up soon. Chris has more solo casts. I'm going to be doing a solo cast, possibly just a single episode cast with you.
I'm
for
looking
BBC's
for that.
The Watch.
Okay, yeah, that's tomorrow.
At the very least, we're going to do the first episode, just to see how bad it is.
Being
more
completely
more on that later.
Well, the fun part about that is you know the works of.
I know the works of Terry Pratchett. I am a huge Terry Pratchett fan.
I know nothing of it, and I heard about it for the first time last night. So
yep, when you came by to
that's
talk
why
about...
That's why I think we would need like a completely fresh to it, just to see if.
I agree.
Because you're a fan of this.
I can be like,
the
so
author.
what did you think of the series having no familiarity with the subject matter? And then I'll let
does it hold up?
Now let me tell you where it was wrong.
Well, here's the thing: they're trying to make it for someone who's probably to make a fan base and doesn't know about it.
But
so does it hit any chord for me?
Let's hold off on discussing that until we actually sit down to watch that.
Well, come on, we're giving a sneak peek.
Even
though this is going to be out after the sneak peek.
Nah, the sneak peek will be out. But,
that's what I mean. Tomorrow's episode's coming out sooner than this one. So this isn't going to have any relevance to that.
Go back and watch our first look.
Exactly.
At,
See, that's what I was doing. I was setting this up.
Thank you for that. I don't always think that far ahead.
Or that far in reverse.
But so, that about wraps up this edition of the Bingecast. So, for Sam, I am Jay, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast. Be sure to check out our library of past podcasts via CKCC Radio or via our YouTube channel, and give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you after our next binge.